Ladies and gentlemen, would you kindly take your seats? Our luncheon will begin in about 90 seconds. Please come and take your seats. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everybody. Please take your seats. It's fantastic to see so many of you here this afternoon. A very good afternoon to each of you. Are you well today on this Thursday? Yes? That's lovely. 2 of you are good. The rest of you, are you well? It's so great to have you here. Thank you so very much and welcome to the September Luncheon. I'm Tina Altieri and I've got to tell you, I've been entrusted to this very important MC role with the blessing of my very good friend and colleague, Tim McMillan. I've got to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll come right out with it up front and centre, but Tim made me jump through hoops to be able to do this job and be here because, of course, he's busy today. He's involved in some kind of footy match, which is happening apparently on Saturday, so he's got a lot of meetings to do with that. Personally, can I just say, I would never have chosen the AFL Grand Final commitments over you, personally. Yep, exactly. I couldn't talk him out of it, but he did apparently, but he does send his apologies and his very best wishes. So today, ladies and gentlemen, you have me taking you through meticulously a wonderful lineup of proceedings at this month's luncheon. Some great insights from really good talent that you'll see a little later on this afternoon. And I know how much you enjoy the networking opportunities at these monthly events, so we will give you indeed plenty of time for that. To that end, a very special and warm welcome to our first-timers. Can you raise your hand if you've never been to one of the monthly luncheons? Can we welcome them, ladies and gentlemen? Yes? Big round of applause. It's great to have you here. And you know what? For those of you who raised your hands as first-timers, what a great first Mining Club luncheon to be at here at Optus Stadium, less than 48 hours before Perth turns on what's set to be a sensational premiership decider. There is no better time to be here during this wonderful transformation behind the scenes. Mindful, of course, too, ladies and gentlemen, not to share what you may get a sneak peek of that's going on behind the scenes. There are a lot of rehearsals happening today, and whilst we're asking you to stay silent on some of the surprises that are under wraps behind the scenes during our time here at Optus Stadium, we also ask you to put your phones on silent too, ladies and gentlemen, as we get the proceedings underway. But we want you to keep your phones well and truly in front of you as we encourage you to join the WA Mining Club's LinkedIn page, which has, I might add, take a look at this, 12,400 followers. Not bad, yes? No, I'm not sure you're getting this. I announced 12,400 followers in the best voice that I can find, and you break out into rapturous applause. So let's try that again. Ladies and gentlemen, 12,400 followers. And you know what? That is reason for applause, because that is driven by you, this wonderful community. And to be able to be as robust and as strong as that is absolutely vital. So thank you so very much for that. Our committee for 2021 is shown on the screen too. We welcome immediate past president Damien Quayle, life members Mike Cipotelli, Vic Bullo and Eddie Plume. We'd also like to welcome our new members to the club. Their names are listed on the screen. And our key member for the month of September is Owen Oakley, ladies and gentlemen. Would you please give him a round of applause? And it's interesting too, isn't it? Because in a way, Owen Oakley's mining journey began in the sandpit when he was a kid, where his parents watched him spend hours digging with toy excavators and trucks. And you can read more about Owen's journey in this month's newsletter. So now to today. We're really pleased to have some special guests with us this afternoon, and I'd like to make mention of our terrific sponsors. Evol LNG, yes, give a big round of applause for Evol. They've been fueling off-grid mining operations with liquefied natural gas in WA's Midwest and Goldfields region for over a decade. Remote mine sites can reduce their power costs by fueling their power station with LNG instead of diesel. Evol LNG can help miners make an effortless transition to a cleaner, more economic and locally produced fuel. We'd also like to welcome recently launched in Western Australia TLT Turbo, which offers primary and secondary booster mining fans that deliver superior performance and efficiency, resulting in energy savings. Founded over 140 years ago, TLT Turbo is recognised globally for high quality and innovative ventilation equipment, utilising a locally based support team. TLT Turbo is involved in your project from start to finish, including installation and after-sales support. So we thank them as well. Next up, MapTech, which is a global provider of innovative software, hardware and services for mining. Founded 40 years ago, MapTech offers a unique combination of domain knowledge, technical expertise and engineering resources. They develop leading-edge systems to collect, analyse and circulate critical information within the operational cycle, closing the loop between planning, production and results. Reliable solutions allow customers to improve safety, improve productivity and, importantly, improve profitability. Our partners are so incredibly important to us, ladies and gentlemen, so would you please join me in thanking the following organisations: Deloitte, IGO, Fleetco, Platform Communications and Evol LNG, also Grounded, Goldfields Australia, Minerals Council of Australia. Would you please thank them? We'd also like to acknowledge our major sponsors, Fire and Safety Australia and Fleetco. Thank you also to our affiliate partners, Miners Promise and Ostmine. We'd like to say thanks to our great table sponsors as well. Their names are listed on the screen, so please, wherever you can, support them. And we'll be having a business card draw at the end of today, so please do pop your card into the bowl and we'll collect them while lunch is being served in a very short while. It now gives me pleasure to welcome centre stage President Natalie Taylor for her President's Welcome.
Thank you, Tina. Okay, so last month we held our annual scholarship luncheon where Matthew Blackwell from Maluka gave a presentation on his journey in the resource industry and what his key points for emerging leaders would be. I would like to say congratulations again to all of our 2021 scholarship finalists and our 2021 scholarship winners, who were Courtney Johns, Jemima Reid, Rachel Dollar, Sydney Marsden, Joe McCormick, Shalay Shahji, Emma Hodges, and Roland Van Zwol. I look forward to seeing their careers develop in the mining industry. Our young professionals held their YPQ3 event at the RAC Arena recently, and the theme was Danju Golini, which means walking together. The panellists explored how mining companies and native title partners can achieve sustainable outcomes through mutual respect and true collaboration. The event provided guests with more information and awareness regarding the different aspects of heritage from native title, land access and culturally significant sites, a topic that is novel to most of young professionals starting their career in the mining industry. If you missed any of our events, please get in touch with either myself or Cassandra Brennan. As you will know, we record all our events now. Last week was Are You OK Day, which was celebrated around the country, a day to remind us all to start a conversation that could change a life. It was also Suicide Prevention Week, whose theme for the year is creating hope through action. The WA Mining Club are proud to be affiliated with Miners Promise, an organisation established to assist members in the resource sector and their immediate families by providing practical, emotional and financial support when impacted by a crisis, event or death. You'll find their website on the slide behind me, alongside other mental health resources should any of you wish to find out more. These include the Minerals Council of Australia's MineWell app. The MineWell app supports mental health and wellbeing. It was created by miners, for miners, and is available for free on the Apple Store and Google Play Android for Australia and New Zealand mine workers and their families. It was great to see this month the WA Premier and the Honourable Mark McGowan outline his first budget as Treasurer, exhibiting a strong state economy expected to grow 3.5% in the year ahead. Unemployment projected to be less than 5% for the foreseeable future, and business investment forecast to grow almost 10% this year. Some highlights from his recent address at the Business News post-budget breakfast were paying down debt, a record infrastructure investment including $9.1 billion in their regions, a focus on health, social housing, education, climate, and the real kick-off of Westport, and even a down payment on a desalination plant. I would like to wish Goldfields and EDL the best of luck at the upcoming Golden Gecko Awards night. Goldfields and EDL were selected as finalists for environmental excellence for their Agnew Hybrid Renewable Project. I recently attended the Women in Mining and Resources WA Summit, where I met and heard from various intelligent and motivated women from all walks of life. It was great to be able to celebrate each other's successes and career journeys. Some valuable learnings I learned from the summit were around inclusion and diversity, building trust and being transparent, and defying and overcoming challenges. Now lastly, it's great, and I wanted to congratulate and celebrate Doranda Cox, who was this month sworn into Federal Parliament as the first Aboriginal woman in a Senate seat in Western Australia. Thank you.
Natalie, thank you so very much for all of your work and for your service too as President. Really appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now serve main course. I think you're going to find that today's menu will be slightly different to what we've presented in the past. And that comes down to me. I hope you don't mind. I am just going to say, I've had a word to the people over in the kitchen, and what we have done for you today, I just don't think Tim McMillan could have organised this, but what we've done for you today is we have organised the menu, which is actually the VIP menu for the grand final guests on Saturday. How good is that? So a round of applause. Do you like that idea? You're the guinea pig, so to speak, but we're trialling it out. No, they are trialling it out. And this is the VIP menu. So even if you can't be at the game on Saturday, you will definitely be enjoying the VIP food on the menu. So you can still enjoy a taste of what they are being treated to on the big grand final day. I thought you might enjoy that. The main course is coming out very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Sit back, relax, enjoy. When we return, we have the big panel discussion. Bon appetit. Thanks, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, I do hope that you're enjoying your lunch. Thanks to the great staff here at Optus Stadium looking after us today on a very, very busy time. And before we invite our speaker up to the stage, I'll ask you to please get your phones out because we're using the online Q&A portal. We'd love you to take part. All you need to do is go to slido.com, that's SLIDO.com, and use the code WAMCSEP21. That's WAMCSEP21. It's on the slide there, and your opportunity to take part in the Q&A a little later. So thanks so much for getting involved. It's great to get your contribution this afternoon. I'd now like to welcome our panel for today. They are braced and ready for some really interesting discussion here on the stage. And we begin with Tony Ottiovano. Now, Managing Director and CEO of Luncheon Resources, Mr. Ottiovano is a global mining executive with over 30 years' experience leading operations across Australia, the Americas, Asia, Europe and Africa. Prior to joining Luncheon, he held senior executive roles with two of the world's largest mining companies, BHP and Rio Tinto, establishing a successful track record in operations, M&A, project delivery and business transformation. His most recent position was Program Director Improvement and BHP Operating System with BHP, a system that forms the foundation of their 10-year safety and productivity strategy. Lovely to see you here. Thank you so much, Tony. Next up, we welcome Luke Graham, and he's Managing Director and CEO of Strandline Resources, a qualified engineering professional, electrical. Luke is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of ASX-listed Strandline Resources Limited and has over 25 years of experience in the mining and resources sector. Strandline owns an exciting portfolio of zircon and titanium assets located in Western Australia and along the highly prospective coastline of Tanzania. Responsible to lead the transition of Strandline from explorer to producer, Luke has extensive experience in major project development and leading multifunctional operational teams, including mineral sands, coal, iron ore and gold projects. Strandline recently made a final investment decision to proceed with the development of its flagship Coburn mineral sands project in Shark Bay in the top of our state, and the project is now 4 months into construction, fully funded through to production and cash flow. This progress puts Strandline well on track to capitalise on the current buoyant mineral sands market, which is benefiting from strong global demand as well as ongoing supply challenges. Great to have you here, Luke. Thanks so much. Next up, we welcome Steve Norregard, Managing Director of Widgie Nickel. And Steve is a mining engineer of some 30 years of experience. He commenced his career in underground contracting with National Mine Management and McMahon and progressed to lead local nickel and gold miner Tectonic Resources for a decade prior to working overseas in both North America and Southeast Asia. With a return to WA, the last 4 years of his working career have been spent with local gold miner West Gold until the opportunity of leading Widgie Nickel presented itself, an opportunity to revisit an old stomping ground, so to speak, having worked in Widgie's now dormant mines back to the early 1990s. The opportunity for reinvigorating this already substantial resource and see mining activities return to the dome was too compelling an opportunity, and it is absolutely right. So fantastic to see you here. Thank you so very much. Would you please put your hands together for our three fabulous speakers? And we're going to invite Nikki to the stage to be our moderator. Nikki Ivory is Head of Financial Advisory and WA Mining Leader Deloitte. Nikki Ivory leads the Financial Advisory team in Western Australia and is WA Mining Leader. She has over 20 years of professional experience in Australia and South Africa, providing valuation advice, including independent expert reports and other non-public valuations. Nikki has also advised clients on the buy and sell side of transactions, with a focus on the resource industry and companies that really do service the resource industry. It's over to you, Nikki. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you very much. And welcome to Steve, Tony, and Luke. So putting aside the recent slide in iron ore prices, mining seems to be booming again. Did I dare say that word? We don't really like to hear the word boom, because of the connotations, I guess, of the bust that has always followed. But rising commodity prices really are very important to enable new projects to get off the ground. So today we're going to hear a little bit about three relatively new projects and across the early stages of the mining life cycle. So we've got an explorer, a developer, and an emerging producer. And across three what seem like very different commodities: nickel, lithium, and mineral sands. But they, despite the obvious differences, these commodities do have something in common. They are all classed as critical minerals, something we hear a fair bit about at the moment, because of their importance to applications in everyday life. So we're going to start off with, I guess, a bit of a framing question for each of the speakers. Please listen carefully and think of questions you want to ask them, because they're going to pop up here on this computer when you put them into Slido, and I will weave them in to the questions we then ask of the panellists afterwards. So starting with our explorer, Steve, Widgie Nickel listed yesterday. Congratulations.
Thank you.
For those who didn't, yep. So those who haven't looked it up, the ticker is WIN. So it was destined to be a good day, one would say. And it didn't disappoint. It closed up 25% at 25 cents and even traded up to 29 cents intraday. So this project has been hidden within Neometals, and so not as well known to the market as other exploration assets out there. So Steve, can you tell us a little bit about Widgie Nickel and what you're going to be doing with it?
Sure. Timing's everything when you're listing a new company, and I think we've got our timing pretty spot on. The assets of Widgie Nickel, the Mount Edwards Nickel project, has been within Neometals for the last 4 years, quietly bubbling away, and Chris and the team at Neometals have got a track record of creating value for their shareholders. They saw the opportunity to spin the asset out, and I started with the company some 6 months ago. We've demerged the assets, providing an in-specie return to shareholders and an accompanying entitlement issue. We raised $24 million. It was fully underwritten, and the culmination of all of that work saw us list yesterday, so I'm very, very happy for that. The project itself, I think you could probably best describe Widgie Nickel as a well-funded explorer with production aspirations. The Mount Edwards Nickel project already has a very, very substantial 160,000 tonnes of contained nickel. So a significant portion of the money that we've raised will be going towards getting those resources into a higher level of geological confidence and pushing through on mining studies, with the target of seeing us production ready by the end of 2023. The project itself is a great portfolio of some 240 square kilometres of mining tenements, perfectly located. We're only 40 kilometres away from BHP's Kambalda nickel concentrator, who we hopefully look forward to doing business with in the foreseeable future. Located less than 2 kilometres off the main road, the main arterial road that goes from Perth to the eastern states, so the tyranny of distance is not an issue for us. And we look forward to the forthcoming years. The outlook for nickel is very, very positive. So I urge you all to have a look at our website, and hopefully you can win with Widgie. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Tony. So you've recently come into the lithium industry after a long career, as we heard, in other commodities, notably iron ore. There's obviously a lot of excitement at the moment in lithium, and we've had a bit of a price run over the recent months. Can you tell us a little bit about Liontown's focus in this hot market?
Well, thanks, Nikki. Firstly, this year's been a year of firsts for me. My first visit to Diggers and Dealers, and now my first visit at the WA Mining Club, so good to be here. Look, it is a fairly exciting time to be in the lithium industry. It can be a bit overwhelming at times, given how much excitement there is. But I think what my career has taught me, working in a number of the significant miners around the globe, is you have to be disciplined and focus on what you can control. So the price is something clearly we can't control. We like the trend, clearly, but we've got a fairly well-detailed strategy. We're executing against that strategy. There are about 4 major objectives that we have in the next 6 months. That's to complete the feasibility study, then move into securing our offtake arrangements and funding, and then we need to build a team, because we're here to build a company. And it's important for us to know that we're building the company to withstand all the cycles that we know, people in this room, that we will get. So we focus on our operating costs, and we focus on our capital, and we make sure that we have an empowered workforce, which is what we're going to build. So I'm pretty excited about the opportunity we've got in front of us.
Great, thank you. So Luke, the Coburn Mineral Sands project has been on a long journey from first discovery to FID in May this year. It's a major project with a long life, and you are constructing right here in WA, in the middle of a booming price environment for mineral sands. Can you talk us through this journey and why you are so excited about the Coburn project?
Yes, thanks, Nikki, and thank you very much for the opportunity to have a chat today about the journey of Strandline Resources. To get to this point, I guess, to be in construction right now and have our line of sight on production next year, it has been a roller coaster journey. It's been quite a struggle from time to time, been a bit scary from time to time, as you can imagine, but it's also been really rewarding. The project was first discovered in 2000, so over 20 years ago. I joined the company, Strandline, 4 years ago, just over, and at that time the company had 4 people. I think I was number 5 coming in as the MD. The market capitalisation was about $10 million at that point. A lot of my friends said at the time, Luke, why Strandline? What are you doing? It's a junior, and it's high risk for you. And I sort of said, well, it just feels right. My gut feel, I want to change. I think I can add a lot of value to these assets. What I love about Strandline is that it's got a series of assets also down the Tanzanian coastline, but it's complemented by this big flagship project here in WA, and I really like that challenge. And now wind the clock forward years, we are fully funded into production, so that's awesome. And also we've got a lot more people than 4 now, and every day we've got more people joining us, and our market capitalisation is over 25 times what it was when I started. And if you believe some of the analysts who are following Strandline and marking us up, we got a big future ahead of us in terms of market cap appreciation. So really looking forward to that journey. It hasn't been easy. We've paid our school fees, no doubt. Multiple stages of feasibility study, going through all the permitting and approvals process. It feels like we've done that 3 or 4 times on the Coburn project alone. A lot of value engineering, trying to extract that value, trying to de-risk the project, and now moving into that development on what I consider to be a tier 1 asset in mineral sands terms in our own backyard, with the market buzzing for us. So it's pulled our project forward. We've pre-sold all our offtake for the first 5 years of production to some of the biggest global consumers around the world. So 100% pre-sold. One of our major revenue streams is zircon, as Nikki mentioned, and that's going into the high-end ceramics market into Europe. So tiles. So when you're renovating your bathrooms and your kitchens and you're putting tiles in, you can think of me. We'll produce about 5% of the global zircon market once we're into production, a little bit more actually, out of the Coburn project alone. We're also producing a suite of titanium minerals, and it's ilmenite, chloride ilmenite. Once we're in production, it'll be about 10% of the global market of chloride ilmenite. That goes into paint pigment and also titanium metal. Paint pigment's used in obviously paint, but TiO2 pigment, but also paint, paper, plastic, ink, those sort of things used in everyday life. We also produce a rare earth mineral called monazite, and that's used in rare earth extraction for things like permanent magnets for electric vehicles and that. So critical minerals, and that's what I love about Strandline is that we've got a big future of demand just under the products that we'll produce. It's full steam ahead, right on site now. We've got, the last 4 or 5 months, we've been building our main access roads. We're doing a lot of bulk earthworks around setting up all the pads for all our new contractors to come through, and from October and November this year, the process plant contractor will start to mobilise. Next week on Monday or Tuesday, I'll give them a day float. We'll be serving our first meal at our new construction village that's right near the mine site, and hopefully it'll be Shark Bay whiting, which is the local delicacy. We are 240 kilometres north of Geraldton. Iluka's been operating in and out of Geraldton for the last 40 years. We've got a binding agreement with the Midwest ports to export 100% of our product for the first 10 years out of Berth 4, which is the same one that Iluka uses mostly. So we're in a region that is really well established in mineral sands. And our funding package, just to conclude, that's been the biggest challenge, getting an industrial minerals project funded, and the offtakes that we have got, binding offtakes across all our suite. As I mentioned, that was a key aspects to find that icing on the cake of bankability. And we managed to attract the Commonwealth Government as our major lender. So the Northern Australian Infrastructure Facility have been working with us, and I've got, I think, Flavio, hopefully I've allowed him out of the office to come here today, our CFO. He's been instrumental in working with NAIF to pull that funding package together. As I said, they're a major lender. It's a 15-year tenor that they're providing, and we've got a bond tranche sitting next to that, as well as shareholder money. So we're off to the races now. First production December quarter next year, right at the right time. So thank you. Over to you, Nikki.
Thank you. Very exciting. So 3 very exciting projects, but we have a looming concern in this market, which is where we're going to find all the workers from. So there was Deloitte Access Economics, obviously in our shop, recently worked with the National Skills Commission to model the national employment projections out to 2025. And when you look at this work, it suggests there's going to be significant growth across all of Australia in various different categories, and the construction and mining industries are right up there in terms of demand for skills. And we're seeing this playing out now. The number of job ads, if you have a look at certain trades, have been going through the roof in the last 6 months. And when we add to that the supply chain disruptions that we hear about constantly in the last few months, it all starts feeling a little bit like that last boom when costs spiraled out of control. So perhaps each of our panelists can talk in turn to us about how they are managing this cost issue in their operations. Should we start with you, Tony?
Yeah, Nikki, well, there's no question that our project is feeling the headwinds, but I think it's important that we separate construction versus operation. We have a time lag between the two, and in the construction phase, we've got some work to do in terms of making sure that we secure our production slots for long lead items, which we're planning to do. We did a capital raise in order to ensure we're well funded for that. So that'll be first and foremost, lock ourselves into that slot. Second one is, we're working hard. Luke mentioned value engineering. We'll work through that to make sure that our capital costs are fit for purpose. The usual things that we do. I've got a great team led by Adam and a good consultant. So we're well placed to ensure that our capital cost builds in some of this heat. But I think that as we get ready into construction, and hopefully we will all be vaccinated to the point where our borders will open, we may see ourselves freeing up the availability of resources. We may not see a drop-off in labour rates because they tend to be more sticky and they're usually embedded in forms of agreement. So that may take time to unwind. So that then leads me into the operations side, and given that lag, we are confident that we can build our resource and our teams with the passage of time so that we get the best people for the roles.
Thank you. Luke, some thoughts on that?
Yes, so I agree with Tony. Hopefully the borders will relax some of the interstate travel for our industry and take a bit of a pressure relief valve for us. It's no doubt a very tight market right now. We've got, like I said, 85, and we'll be ramping up to about 300 over the next 6-month period on our site, and then coming back down to about 150, 160 in operations of direct workers. Good projects get good people, and it's really for us, we've been doing a fair bit in the market to just educate the workers on the opportunity at Strandline and what's important about us, and and they are chasing to be with projects that have meaning. And I think we've got a really good story to tell and a value proposition for the workers, and it's a great region to be going to in Shark Bay there to work, so we've got a bit of an advantage there as well. And we draw in also from a lot of the local areas such as Geraldton, which, like I said, is a very established industrial little hub there in the Midwest. So right now we've got a lot of Geraldton-based contractors and from that region. So yeah, just keep working on the employment engagement.
Thank you.
Opportunities.
Steve, as an explorer, slightly different, but still need people, still need drillers.
Yeah, definitely. Any mine, it's very, very difficult to start a mine. It's extraordinarily hard to close a mine. A lot of anguish invariably can come with that. So the name of the game is to make the bit in between, the actual operational life of that asset, as long as you possibly can, and make sure that it's nice and robust. And in doing that, you will secure people, because people will come and work for projects that have got a career path that presents to them, and they can have security of tenure. They don't want to go and work in risky situations. So if you as an employer can value your employees and provide a consultative, cooperative workplace, you will succeed. It's that simple.
Thank you. There's a follow-up question that someone's asked here for you, Luke. As a junior miner in a market where large producers and refiners effectively control the market, how do you avoid being squeezed out, particularly on pricing? and labour. I think you've sort of touched on it, but this is a slightly different angle, sort of saying it is actually quite tightly controlled, the overall market.
In labour terms?
Well, it's sort of talking about pricing, but also throwing labour in there.
Yeah, so from a pricing perspective on a project, so we sit, when we sell our product, for instance, if that's where we're going with it, we sell at the market price at the time of shipment. So and because our products are premium quality, we do get the premium price. So we're right up there. In terms of our investment base case, we sit in the best part of the quartile. So we're right competitive with the majors from an robustness of our operations, and about 2.4 to 1 on a normal market. But right now, pricing is significantly higher than that. With regards to a lot of people out there, engineers, project managers, construction managers, they want to be involved with something. They want to influence a business, and they want to be involved in something that a company that's going places as well and is on a growth trajectory. And that's allowed us to attract a really good quality team. I love the team that's forming at Strandline right now for the Coburn project. We've got some exceptional people. We've got a rich diversity starting to come into our group, and I hope that we can continue to develop that rich diversity of people into our operations, because that's where our focus is really going right now, and in that operations readiness. So, Nikki, I'm sorry if that hasn't answered the person's question, but gives you a bit of...
No, I think that's good. Thank you. There's another one here, perhaps I'll ask you, Steve. With a lot of exploration happening at the moment in the industry, are you finding it hard when it comes to tendering for a project?
Well, we've secured both diamond drilling and RC drilling contractors probably prior to listing. We saw that as probably the biggest risk. There'd be nothing more embarrassing than getting an IPO off the ground and not having a drilling contractor. So that was high on the list of priorities. Securing the drilling contract obviously revolves around scope. It's very, very similar to what I was saying earlier. The bigger the scope, the longer that scope is, the better. We've been very, very fortunate that we'll have our drilling contractor arrive midway through October, and we'll hopefully keep them there for the next couple of years, so they'll be happy.
Good,
that's the
thanks.
plan.
So I'm going to move on to another topic that we've heard a lot about recently, so ESG, that sort of new buzzword. The S obviously stands for social, and there are a number of aspects, I guess, to the social. But in the current climate and what we're reading about a lot, it could also stand for sexual harassment, which is obviously something that the industry is really having to deal with at the moment. Luke, you've got a construction workforce on site at the moment, and you're soon going to be building an operational workforce. How do you think you can address this particular issue at your site? Yeah,
okay, thank you, Nikki. So it is, we've just got to call it out. I think the mining industry, we've let ourselves down a little bit in this space, and look, there's a lot of publicity at the moment going around. We really need to call it out and start to really prioritise, because our workforce is becoming more diverse up on sites, and that is fostering and encouraging better thinking and better outcomes as well. The more diverse the workforce, and what that means is that there are more minority groups up there, and we need to protect them just like we would if we're protecting the, we're really strong in safety and environment. Where we've got, priority species of plant or rare species of plant on site, we have all these special strategies to protect it, and we go over and above. And as we get, and with safety, we don't, we have a lot of, we've come to learn, the industry's come to learn not to walk past a hazard, and fix it, put strategies in place to make sure that hazard goes away, stop the work, etc. And I think right now with some of the discrimination and harassment, etc., we're not calling it out enough on the spot. We're not like stopping the work to address that issue. And I see it. I was up on site even the other day having dinner around a table, and just some of the conversations I thought was a bit inappropriate, and just because it's away from home a long way on site to me. So we've got to call it out, and training our people and our leaders so that that's not acceptable. And it's to me it's a culture within an organisation. For Strandline, we've got a great opportunity. We're not inheriting a legacy of bad behaviour or anything like that, and it is the exception rather than norm, no doubt. But so we can really work to build our leadership and understanding, and not just have it in an induction pack with no sexual harassment, which is, in the past, that's where a lot of it's been. A lot of programs in education and upskilling our people is, and a fair bit more attention, in my view. Yep.
Either of the others have any comment on that, or any other social issues? There's quite a few questions here.
Yeah, look, for me, we're very early in our journey, so we, like Luke has suggested, it's around the value proposition and setting that right culture where it is safe to speak out and call it out. But I think it's important as an industry-wide issue, whereby if we don't address it, then we're not going to attract the best talent into our industry, and we'll wither in the vine. So it's a burning platform. So it has to be addressed, and we will start, and I can only speak from Liontown's perspective, we will start day one with this front of mind to protect and create the environment that it is conducive to a safe and well-being environment for the people that work for us.
So someone's asked the question here, it's good to say, obviously, we need to empower people, but how do you actually empower people to call it out? What are you going to do differently?
Strong leadership.
Yeah, well, it starts exactly.
In any organisation, the standard that you set as a leader is the standard you're going to get. So if in whatever situation you find yourself, whether it's safety, whether it's to do with the environment, if you as a leader in the organisation condone that by ignoring it, you'll get found out, and it will speak a lot volumes for your organisation if, as leaders, you set the standard. You won't need to have rules and regulations. It's just the accepted way of behaving in your organisation. It's the key.
Yep. I think that is the key. Okay, moving on from that topic. There's a question here about Indigenous communities and how you each incorporating local Indigenous communities into your plans, into your operations. Anyone want to have a go at that, Tony?
Yes, our First Nations traditional owners are the Joao, and we have been in side by side with them in all our discussions and negotiations. The team that I've now have the privilege of leading, they have done a lot of good work in dealing with the Joao, and I think it also was important where the board of Liontown went to site just recently and sat down with the traditional owners, and they gave us an induction on how to walk their land. And I think that was very symbolic, that it was important for the board to understand how the traditional owners of this land that we're going to operate a mine think and work and believe, and what their values are, so that we can be totally aligned with that. And I think that went a long way. We're still not there. We have some more work to do before we finalise our agreement, but we're in very good standing. So I think it's communication and working with them.
Yep. So either of you want to add to that?
We've had to negotiate some heritage agreements, and only as recently as last week I sat down with the Naju people, and I think there still exists a degree of distrust, and the outcomes at Jukan Gorge some 12, 18 months ago has got a lot of native title parties upset, and they don't believe there's a consultation process. They don't think that their sacred sites can actually get protected. And that's, I think, incumbent not upon any one particular organisation, and I don't think any particular organisation should operate by themselves. It's us as an industry, we need to recognise the rights and acknowledge that there is sacred sites that should be protected, irrespective of the underlying wealth that may be foregone as a result of that. You look in Australia, or in Western Australia in particular, we've got Class 8 nature reserves that are completely sacrosanct, impossible to mine in, and we've just got to ignore it completely. That's protecting vegetation that has a capacity of regrowing. Whereas some of the sacred sites that have been disrupted, that's for perpetuity. So I think we've, as an industry, got a long way to go. But the opportunity is definitely there.
Luke?
Yeah. Yes, yeah, I can add a little bit to this. So we this has been such a long life mine at the Coburn project. It's potentially a 40-year mine life. We've got 22 years of reserves already underpinning that, and that's underpinning the bankable investment case, and another 15 to 20 years of JORC resources defined further to our north, and we cut across two traditional owner groups. It's the Nanda people and the Mulgana people up in Shark Bay there, and it's we have heritage agreement and obviously a mining agreement with those guys, but continual consultation, because you're right. There's still, even though we've got that agreement, we've been working with those parties for ever since we started to do the first drill hole 20 years ago. There's still a lot of mistrust in any relationship there, and because a lot of mining companies, we talk the talk, but we don't walk the walk all the time, right? So, and we're conscious of that. So it's a massive agenda for us. It is a license to operate. Our funding with the NAIF and a lot of other Tier 1 investment banks, it's the ESG, which we were talking about before, is the number one on their agenda. You've got to tick that box and tell me how you're going to bring social change to that community over the course of your mine life. And in our circumstance with the Northern Australian Infrastructure Facility and the federal government, they've got a whole heap of experts in this space that have sat down with us, and we've mapped out an Indigenous engagement strategy, which is over and above what our heritage agreement or our mining agreement with the party themselves. There's 32 objectives in our case, and we have to report against that and deliver against that, and it's going to be a best practice type delivery there, and if we don't, the money goes, sort of thing. It's so, if you want to get a project up, it's going to be really tightly linked to your community interaction, and you've got to actually walk the walk.
Thank you. Quite a few questions here on the E in ESG, so the climate change and getting to net zero. Maybe, Tony, some thoughts on how you're incorporating that climate strategy and innovation and digital technology. Are those part of your strategy to get there?
Yes, it is, Nikki, and as Luke has mentioned, it's first and foremost in the minds of the financiers, and frankly, it's the right thing to do anyway. So regardless of the financing element, we would be pursuing this agenda. So our project will have a fair degree of renewable power, greater than 50% from when we start. We will be building in current technology which helps us reduce both our Scope 1 and 2 emissions. So we've also got our first sustainability report due out at the end of this last quarter of this calendar year, and in there we will have our targets and the standards of which we will be monitored and tracked against. So we believe there's a tremendous amount of value of getting this right from the very beginning. We don't have to deal with legacy. We will create our own legacy, and it'll be the right one. So we've got a clear plan for the next 10 years as to what we need to do and where we need to invest to reduce our carbon footprint to the lowest it possibly can with the technology we've got.
This one's a little bit, it's actually been asked of me, so what can we do to get more women into leadership in the exploration sector? We have a panel of 3 white men here. So I'm going to ask you this one, Steve, given you're the explorer, the closest to the pure exploration end here. Why do we have so few women in leadership in the exploration sector? And what can we do to change that?
Well, Widgie's very fortunate in the sense that we've got a director, Felicity Repacholi-Muir, who's a geologist, and she's an integral part of our organisation and will be going forward. So I think it's a barrier that is getting broken down, and I think we just, as long as we continue to break those barriers down and enrol and engage a greater portion of ladies in the workforce, the equality will eventually arise.
So a long, slow journey then?
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyone else want to comment on that? There was a comment about your
Yes.
all-male board, or your very male-dominated board, Tony.
Yeah, so, well,
Quite a few questions.
on the board piece, let's address that. We are very early in our journey. We acknowledge where we sit in terms of the gender balance on our board. We will, as we move in size and in development, we will address that, no question. Equally, my management team and the total workforce that we recruit. So that's the Liontown piece. But more broadly on the industry and the question around the chief geologist piece, I think everything we've said up until now regarding a safe place to work, the discrimination piece, the sexual harassment, all those are fundamental building blocks to creating the conducive environment so that females and technical specialists at large feel comfortable to join the industry and work and fulfill a successful career. So we've got a lot of foundation work we need to fix and repair and build before we can get the result that we all desire.
Yeah, good answer. Any
Yeah, I
thoughts,
totally
Stu?
agree with Tony in that regard, and I need to sort of acknowledge one of our board members, Miss Alex Atkins, who's been on our board now for about 5 months or so, and she's actually a geologist by training originally, and then a mining engineer, and then a whole heap of other things, extra education qualifications that she has, and she's been in camps for 15 or so years through her career, and having her input into the board when we're talking about not just the technical aspects, which she adds a lot of value in, by the way, but the ESG angle, because I've got and men and just generally everyone has blind spots when they're looking at strategy, or they're looking at management plans, or putting tactical actions in place, and Alex is unbelievable at spotting blind spots in people, and I tell you what, I got a lot more than I thought I had, and she's been adding a lot of value to Strandline's decision making in that, and hopefully right now we run at about 20 to 25% of our Strandline team is female, and yes, mostly it's in the office-based roles at the moment, but we're really hopeful that we can accelerate that or increase that as we get into production in 12 to 14 months' time. But it's going to be hard work, and yeah, we have to break down some of these barriers in the thinking.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to start wrapping up there. I think I'm being signalled that we're running out of time. So I've got one final question, very quick soundbite from each of you. We've got a number of young professionals in the room with us today. Can you each provide one pearl of wisdom for our young professionals? Starting with you, Steve.
Whenever you graduate from an institution, that's probably the beginning of the learning process. So my word of advice is don't be frightened to get your hands dirty and listen to what everyone has to say, because everyone's got something to contribute, and eventually you will take a little bit from every learning experience you've had. So don't be frightened to ask questions and do as you're told to start off with.
Luke?
Yeah, so mine is, I think, as I said earlier, you've got to, everyone in your career, you have a lot of different options at different points in time, and you trade it off. But for me, and it's held me really well in my career, is you always go with your gut.
Thank you. Tony?
Oh, there's a bit of self-interest in this response, but big is not always best. There is a lot of good experience you can get for working in the smaller end of town. And secondly, a career in purely technical is not a pathway to poverty, because the number of geologists and the number of mining engineers that want to get into strategy or M&A, and there is a good career to be made by knowing your stuff and being very, very good technically. And the financial benefits and all that will come with time once the industry understands that technical specialists, if we don't nurture them, they'll be a dying breed. Everyone will become generalists. We don't want that.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, mate.
Indeed, bringing the major topics that are top of mind in the mining industry. Thank you so very much, Nikki, for doing that. And it gives me pleasure now to welcome back Natalie for a vote of thanks.
Thanks, Tina. And thank you to our panellists and Nikki again for the great moderating. I always enjoy sitting down and listening to you and how you actually curve the conversation. So thank you very much. And if you'd like to make your way off stage, I'd like to give you a little thank you.
You may want to catch up with our panellists a little later after our formalities come to an end. But right now, let's give away a prize. I hope you're in the prize-winning mood. Let's invite Mike Husbands from our sponsor Maptech to come forward. Thanks so much, Mike. We're drawing a Garmin Fitbit. You've got to be a member to be in this particular winning barrel, but we do have a member. Thanks so much, Mike. Okay, there can't be too many Bruces in the room today, could there? Bruce Gregory, congratulations. Where are you, Bruce? Are you a member, Bruce? Would anybody like to be Bruce? No? You've got to be here, Bruce, to take away the prize, Bruce. He's just, okay, we're going to make sure that he receives his Garmin Fitbit. Excellent, that's wonderful, thank you. And remember, if you're not a member, please consider joining. If you want to discuss sponsorships or partnerships, do speak to Natalie. She's ready and braced to have a chat with you or any of the committee members as well. Our thanks once again to our great valued sponsors, Evol, LNG, Maptech and TLT Turbo. Thank you so very much. We can't be here without you, so we're really, really grateful for your wonderful contribution. Our upcoming events are listed on the screen, so indeed hope to see you next month. We're really also excited to announce that our St Barbara's Day speaker is mining legend Ron Sayers. So indeed that'll be a great one to come along to if you can. Make sure you get in very soon so you can get a seat, because of course it's becoming increasingly difficult to get all of you in the one room. So it'll be fantastic to have you here for Ron. That brings the proceedings for today's luncheon to a close, ladies and gentlemen. If you'd like to continue networking, and I get the feeling that you do, yes, if you'd like to continue, then we'd love you to wander over to Camfield. Be aware that the Marley lawn is locked at 3:30. And I think that is specifically for today, is that right? No, it's a, but a bit longer today, so 3:30. So if you want to move your car, that's if you'd like to stay a little bit longer and mingle a little longer at the Camfield, please be aware that Marley Lawn is locked at 3:30, so you may need to move your vehicle as well. On behalf of the WA Mining Club President, Natalie Taylor, and the committee, thank you so very much also, ladies and gentlemen, for having me today. You'll be pleased to know that Tim will be back next month. It's okay. It's all good. I'll give him the complete lowdown on what happened today. And thank you so very much for having me. Take care. If you're driving, all the very best. Do take care and see you again shortly. Thanks, everyone.